We have observed many species. Yours is young but different. The lights beneath Nera's skin formed beautiful patterns as she spoke. Most intelligent species expand by conquest. Humans try to preserve, protect. Even on your own world, you fight to save other species from extinction. Hana was transfixed by Nera's gentle luminescence. That's why you came to us. Because we run conservation programs. Yes, my ship carries the genetic library of my people. All our knowledge, culture, history, and samples that could potentially save us. Nara's large eyes studied them hopefully. If you are willing. Minho, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. What exactly are you asking us to do? Nara sat up slowly on the medical bed. Her movements were graceful despite her obvious exhaustion. Our scientists discovered that luminary genetic material might be compatible with several species, including humans. We need help to create a new generation that carries our essential traits. Not purely luminary, but enough that we do not vanish completely from the universe. Silence fell over the room as the humans processed what she was suggesting. It was Hana who finally spoke. This is bigger than our small research team can decide. We need to take you to Earth, to our leaders and scientists. This will require careful thought and discussion. Nera nodded, the lights beneath her skin forming slow, peaceful waves. I understand. I have searched 12 systems over 20 of your years to find help. I can wait a little longer. As the horizon changed course for Earth, Hana stayed in the medical bay, asking Nera about her world, her people. The alien showed her holographic images of the luminary homeworld, a place of stunning beauty where the inhabitants themselves were part of the planet's ecosystem, their bioluminescence nurturing other life forms. We seek harmony, not dominance, Nara explained. That is what we fear losing most. Not just our bodies, but our way of seeing the universe. Hana watched the lights pulse beneath Nera's skin and made a silent promise. Somehow, the light of the luminary would not be allowed to fade from the universe. The horizon landed at the Seoul Xenobiology Institute under heavy security. News of the alien visitor had been kept secret, but rumors spread quickly through the scientific community. Dr. Hana Park walked beside Nera as they entered the facility, noticing how the alien's skin glowed brighter in the sunlight. Are you comfortable? Hana asked, concerned about Earth's gravity and atmosphere. Yes, Nera replied, her translation device now working smoothly. Your world is heavier than mine, but I can adapt. Her large violet eyes took in everything with obvious curiosity. Director Jun waited for them in the main conference room. He was a tall, stern man with silver hair and a reputation for scientific brilliance. His expression remained neutral as Nera entered, but Hana noticed his hands tighten slightly on the table edge. Welcome to Earth, he said formally. I've reviewed Dr. Park's preliminary report, but I'd like to hear directly from you about your situation. Nera sat in the specially designed chair they had prepared for her more slender frame. Thank you for receiving me. My journey has been long. For the next hour, Nera explained the luminary's plight in greater detail. 3 generations ago, a mutation had appeared in their genetic code. Each new generation was born weaker, with diminished bioluminescent abilities. Their scientists had tried everything to reverse the degradation, but nothing worked. Our ability to connect with living systems is fading, Nara explained as patterns of light rippled beneath her blue skin. Without it, we cannot fulfill our ecological purpose. The planets we tend are beginning to suffer. Dr. Kim, the Institute's lead geneticist, had been studying the biological samples Nara had brought. He entered the conference room with a tablet in hand, his face showing barely contained excitement. Director, I've completed the preliminary analysis, he said. It's remarkable. Luminary genetic material shows surprising compatibility with human DNA. Their bioluminescent properties are encoded in a way that could potentially be preserved through carefully designed hybrid embryos. Director Jun frowned. You're suggesting we create human luminary hybrids. This crosses significant ethical boundaries. I understand your concern, Nara said softly. My people debated this path for many years. We would not suggest it if we saw any other way. Hannah spoke up. We preserve endangered species on Earth all the time, sometimes through assisted reproduction or even genetic intervention. Those are Earth species, Director June countered. Part of our own ecosystem. This is entirely different. He stood and paced the room. The Global Ethics Committee will need to review this thoroughly. I cannot make this decision alone. Within days, the committee was convened. 25 experts in biology, ethics, law, and religion gathered to debate what some were calling the most important decision in human history. Dr. Park presented the scientific findings, showing how a program to create viable hybrid children could work. They would be partly human, partly luminary, she explained. They would carry the essential traits of both species. The debate quickly turned heated. Some committee members saw it as humanity's duty to help preserve a dying species. Others warned against interfering in what might be a natural extinction event. Who are we to play God? Asked Professor Lee, a religious scholar. Perhaps the luminary's time has naturally come to an end. That's a convenient philosophy when it's not your species facing extinction. Dr. Santos, a conservation biologist, fired back. If an advanced alien civilization had found humans on the brink of extinction, wouldn't we want them to help us? Security footage of the discussions leaked to the public. Soon, protests formed outside the institute. Some people carried signs welcoming Nara and supporting a hybrid program. Others demanded she leave Earth, fearing contamination or religious objections to alien hybridization. Inside her carefully controlled quarters, Nara watched the news with Hannah. Your people are divided, she observed. This is not surprising. It is a great thing to ask. Humans often fear what we don't understand, Hannah admitted, but many support helping you. After 3 weeks of debate, the committee called Nara to speak. She entered the chamber alone, her slender form seeming fragile under the harsh lights. The room fell silent as she took her place at the podium. I have listened to your debates, she began, her translator now perfectly conveying her words. I understand your fears and your doubts. My people once faced similar questions when we discovered other species in need. The patterns of light beneath her skin formed complex, beautiful waves that held the committee transfixed. I don't ask for my exact species to continue unchanged, she continued with quiet dignity. The luminary, as we were, may indeed be reaching our natural end. I ask only that what made us special, our harmony with living systems, not be lost from the universe forever. She held up her hand, and the bioluminescence concentrated there, creating a small glowing sphere. This light helped heal ecosystems on 12 worlds. It nurtured plants that could not grow alone. It balanced atmospheres and purified waters. Is this worth preserving, not just as scientific knowledge, but as living wisdom? The room remained silent when she finished speaking. Even her strongest opponents seemed moved by her words. That evening, Hannah found Nara in the Institute's garden, her skin glowing softly in the darkness. Plants seemed to lean toward her, responding to her light. You spoke beautifully today, Hannah said, sitting beside her. Did I help our cause? Nara asked. I think so, but the committee still seems divided. Nara nodded slowly. On my world, we believe that understanding comes through connection. She hesitated, then held out her hand. May I show you something? Curious, Hannah placed her hand in Nara's. Immediately, a warm sensation spread up her arm. The bioluminescence from Nara's skin seemed to flow between them, creating patterns where their hands met. Suddenly, Hannah felt it, a profound sense of connection, not just to Nara, but to the plants around them, the soil beneath them, the air they breathed. For a brief moment, she experienced the world as a luminary did, as an interconnected web of life where each part affected all others. When Nara withdrew her hand, tears were streaming down Hannah's face. That's how you see everything, she whispered. Yes, that is what will be lost if we fail. The next morning, Hannah requested to address the committee again. She described what she had experienced, speaking with a passion that surprised even herself. "This isn't just about saving an alien species," she concluded. "It's about preserving a unique way of understanding life itself. Something humans might learn from. Something that might help us heal our own world." The committee's final vote was scheduled for the following day. That night, neither Hannah nor Nera slept as they waited for a decision that would determine the fate of the luminary's legacy. The committee's decision was delayed. They needed more information about luminary culture and abilities before making their final choice. This delay gave Dr. Park and Nera valuable time together. Early one morning, Hannah took Nera to the Institute's research greenhouse. It was a large glass building filled with plants from all over Earth. Many of these plants were endangered species being studied for conservation. "These orchids are nearly extinct in the wild," Hannah explained, pointing to delicate purple flowers. "We're trying to help them recover, but it's difficult." Nera approached the plants carefully. "May I?" she asked. Hannah nodded, and Nera placed her blue hands near the orchids. The glow beneath her skin brightened and seemed to pulse in a specific pattern. To Hannah's amazement, the orchids visibly straightened. Their colors deepened, and one bud that had been closed began to slowly open. "How did you do that?" Hannah whispered. "We share energy," Nera explained. "My light speaks to their cells. It is a conversation, not a command." Over the next few days, they established a routine. Each morning, they would work in the greenhouse. Nera demonstrated how her bioluminescence could stimulate growth in different plants. Some responded with amazing speed, while others needed different light patterns to thrive. "We were ecological engineers," Nera explained while helping a wilting fern recover. "Each luminary connects with planetary systems, helping maintain balance. Some of us specialized in forest systems, others in ocean life, still others in atmospheric regulation." Dr. Hyun, the Institute's climate scientist, began attending these sessions. He was a quiet man who rarely showed emotion, but his eyes widened when he saw what Nera could do. "Could your abilities work on a larger scale?" he asked one day. "For instance, in areas damaged by pollution or climate change?" "Yes, though it would require many luminary working together," Nera replied. "On our home world, we would gather in circles of 12 to heal damaged areas." That afternoon, Nera showed them recordings from her ship's database. The scientists watched in wonder as groups of luminary restored a barren landscape. Their combined light spread through soil and water, breaking down toxins and stimulating new growth. "This is beyond anything we've developed," Dr. Hyun said, his voice filled with rare excitement. "Our climate restoration projects take decades. Your people did this in months." In the evenings, Hannah and Nera would talk about their different cultures. Nera learned about human art, music, and history. She was particularly fascinated by human diversity. "Your species has so many different appearances and cultures, yet you are all one species," she observed. "My people were more uniform. We had different talents but looked much the same." "Were?" Hannah asked, noticing the past tense. Nera's skin dimmed slightly. "I received a transmission yesterday. Another community on our third colony world has reported no viable births. Our numbers have fallen below 800 now." Hannah reached out and took Nera's hand. The alien skin was surprisingly warm, and the bioluminescence formed beautiful patterns where they touched. "We'll find a way to help," she promised. As days passed, Nera began teaching Hannah the luminary language. It was complex, combining sounds with light patterns. Hannah couldn't produce the light, of course, but she learned to recognize what different patterns meant. "This pattern means harmony," Nera explained, creating a flowing wave of light beneath her skin. "It is our most important concept." Meanwhile, Dr. Hyun made a breakthrough. He had been studying the genetic samples Nora provided, focusing on the genes responsible for bioluminescence and ecological connection. "I think these genes could be adapted to help Earth plants," he announced during a research meeting. If we could give key plant species even a fraction of the luminary's ability to purify soil and water, we could accelerate ecosystem recovery enormously. He showed them computer models of how modified bamboo forests could absorb carbon from the atmosphere 5 times faster than normal, how adapted algae could clean polluted waters in weeks rather than years. Luminary genetic technology could help reverse climate damage on Earth, he concluded. This could be the solution we've been searching for. Word of his discovery spread quickly through the Institute and to the Ethics Committee. The human researchers were beginning to see that helping the luminary might help Earth as well. One evening, Hannah found Nara in the greenhouse, surrounded by plants that seemed to lean toward her light. "Your people have been watching the committee meetings," Nara said without turning around. "They are still divided." "Yes, but Dr. Hen's discovery is changing minds," Hannah replied. "People are starting to see the potential benefits of a partnership." "Partnership," Nara repeated thoughtfully. "Not just us asking for help, but offering something in return." "Exactly. Your knowledge could save ecosystems across Earth." They stayed up late that night, drafting a formal proposal. It outlined a simple exchange. Humans would help preserve key luminary genetic heritage, while the luminary would share their ecological knowledge and technology. The next morning, they presented their idea to Director June. To their surprise, he nodded approvingly. "This addresses many of the committee's concerns," he said. "It transforms the relationship from one of charity to mutual benefit." Within days, the proposal was refined and expanded. Scientists from different fields contributed ideas about how luminary knowledge could be applied to Earth's environmental challenges. Dr. Park and Nara presented the revised plan to the Ethics Committee. As they spoke, Hannah noticed how they had begun to mirror each other's speech patterns and gestures. Their partnership had grown into something deeper, a true cultural exchange. "We propose a program with 3 main components," Hannah explained. "First, genetic preservation of key luminary traits through carefully designed hybrid embryos. Second, transfer of luminary ecological knowledge to human scientists. Third, collaborative research to apply this knowledge to Earth's environmental challenges." Nara stepped forward, her skin glowing with steady, confident light. "Our 2 species evolved on different worlds, but we share a fundamental understanding. Life is precious and interconnected. Together, we can preserve what is best about both our worlds." The committee voted the next day. The agreement passed by a narrow margin and was quickly named the Luminary Legacy Project. That night, Hannah found Nara looking up at the stars from the Institute's roof garden. "Your people have agreed to help mine," Nara said softly. "I never truly believed this day would come." "It's just the beginning," Hannah replied. "We have so much to learn from each other." As they stood together under Earth's night sky, the plants in the garden seemed to reach toward Nara's gentle light, as if welcoming a new dawn. The Luminary Legacy Project moved forward under intense scrutiny. The world watched as teams of scientists, ethicists, and government officials worked together on this unprecedented collaboration. A special facility was built just outside Seoul, a gleaming white structure surrounded by carefully designed gardens and experimental farming plots. Dr. Jin, Korea's leading geneticist, led the team responsible for creating viable hybrid embryos. She was a quiet woman with steady hands and a brilliant mind. Day and night, she studied the luminary genetic samples Nora had brought to Earth. "The challenge," she explained during one team meeting, "is preserving the bioluminescent abilities while ensuring the children will be healthy. We need to maintain the genetic sequences that allow for ecosystem connection without compromising human biological systems." Nara spent hours in the lab with Dr. Jin, explaining how luminary genetics worked. She would place her hands over samples, and her inner light would pulse in specific patterns, somehow communicating with the cellular material. "Our genes respond to intention," Nara explained. "It is difficult to describe in human terms, but we can guide genetic expression through focused thought." Dr. Park watched their work with growing excitement. After 3 months of intensive research, Dr. Jin announced a breakthrough. We've developed a method to create embryos with essential luminary traits using voluntary human genetic donors, she told the project board. The hybrid embryos show stability in simulations. We're ready to proceed to the next phase. Finding suitable human donors was easier than expected. Thousands volunteered after learning about the project, inspired by the possibility of helping save another species while potentially gaining knowledge to heal Earth's environment. 5 women were carefully selected as surrogates, all scientists who understood the risks and importance of the project. The embryo transfer procedures were performed on a clear spring morning, with Nara present to provide her gentle luminescence throughout the process. The pregnancies were closely monitored. The women experienced few complications, though doctors noted unusual patterns on ultrasound scans. Tiny points of light visible within the developing fetuses. 9 months later, in a specially designed birthing center, the first 5 luminary human children were born within hours of each other. The medical team fell silent as they saw the babies for the first time. The infants appeared mostly human, with slightly larger eyes and more delicate features. Their skin was pale with a faint bluish tint. But what made everyone catch their breath was the subtle patterns of light that moved beneath their skin when they cried or seemed content, a gentle, pulsing glow that responded to their emotions and environment. Nara was invited to see the newborns once they were stable. Dr. Park accompanied her to the nursery, watching her friend's reaction carefully. Nara approached the clear bassinet slowly, her own luminescence dimmed as if in reverence. When she saw the first child, a girl with wisps of dark hair and skin that glowed faintly in the dim room, Nara's composure broke. Tears slid down her blue cheeks, catching the light in crystal patterns. "They carry our light," she whispered, placing one long-fingered hand near the baby. The infant's glow seemed to respond, pulsing in rhythm with Nara's own. Dr. Park put her arm around Nara's shoulders. "Your people will live on through them." The 5 surrogate mothers had all agreed to raise the children they carried, with ongoing support from the project. Each family was provided with a specially designed home where lighting, temperature, and plant life were optimized for the children's unique biology. As the babies grew, scientists observed their development with fascination. By 6 months, they could deliberately control their bioluminescence, using it to communicate their needs before they could speak. By 1 year, they showed remarkable connections to plant life, causing flowers to bloom simply by touching them. Nara devoted herself to the children. Though not biologically their parent, she became essential to their development, teaching them about their luminary heritage. She created beautiful stories about the luminary homeworld, singing songs whose melodies were complemented by specific light patterns. Dr. Park often visited the main habitat where 3 of the families lived. She watched Nara sitting with the children in the central garden, showing them how to use their light to help struggling plants. Like this, Nara would demonstrate, her blue hands glowing as she touched a wilting fern. "Feel what it needs. Then offer, never force." The children would mimic her, their small hands producing weaker but similar patterns of light. The plants responded to them just as they did to Nara, though not as dramatically. One day, when the oldest children were nearly 2, Dr. Park found Nara watching them from a distance. The 5 toddlers were playing in a specially designed pool, their skin glowing in underwater patterns that created beautiful reflections on the ceiling. "They're thriving," Hannah said, joining her friend. "Yes," Nara agreed. "Better than we hoped. You seem troubled today." Nara was quiet for a moment, her inner light forming slow, thoughtful patterns. "I received news from my homeworld yesterday. Our numbers have fallen below 500. No healthy births have been reported in over a year." Hannah took her hand. "I'm so sorry. It is why this project matters even more now," Nara said. "These children may soon be all that remains of my people's gift." Later that week, the project board met to review progress and plan the next phase. The success of the first 5 children had led to approval for a larger cohort, with 20 new hybrid embryos ready for implantation. Dr. Jin presented the latest genetic analyses. The children show stable integration of luminary genes. Their bioluminescent abilities are approximately 40% as strong as a full luminary, but this appears sufficient for ecological interaction. Dr. Hyun shared how the children's abilities were already being studied for environmental applications. Even at this young age, they can help us identify sick plants before visible symptoms appear. As they grow, their abilities will likely strengthen. After the meeting, Hannah found Nara in the habitat's observation room, watching the children through a window as human parents read them bedtime stories. They are not exactly luminary, Nara told Dr. Park, her voice tinged with both sadness and hope. But they will carry forward what made us special. Is that enough? Hannah asked gently. Nara's skin glowed with a warm, peaceful light. When my ship left home, I hoped to find a way to save my species exactly as we were. Now I understand that life always changes. What matters is that our gift to the universe, our connection to living systems, will continue through these children. One of the little girls spotted Nara through the window and raised her hand in greeting, her palm glowing with a bright, happy light. Nara returned the gesture, their lights pulsing in matching patterns across the distance. They are becoming something new, Nara said. Neither fully human or fully luminary, but perhaps something better than either alone. As the project moved forward, the science team began preparations for the next phase, teaching the children how to use their abilities to help restore damaged ecosystems. Earth would be their testing ground, but someday these children might help bring life to worlds beyond. 20 years passed in what seemed like the blink of an eye. Dr. Hannah Park's hair had turned silver, though she remained active as the senior director of the Luminary Legacy Project. The project had expanded beyond its humble beginnings at the Seoul Institute to become a global initiative with centers on 3 continents. The luminary human community had grown to over 200 individuals. They called themselves the Lumina, a name they had chosen together when the first generation reached adolescence. They ranged in age from infants to young adults, each born with a distinctive luminescent skin that connected them to their luminary heritage. Mina, one of the original 5 children, had become a leader among the Lumina. At 20, she stood tall and graceful, her skin glowing with patterns more complex and controlled than any of the younger generations. She had her human mother's dark eyes and determined nature, combined with a profound connection to living systems inherited from her luminary genes. The Mars Colonial Initiative had specifically requested Mina's help for their troubled biodome project. After 5 years of conventional terraforming attempts, the Martian soil remained stubbornly hostile to Earth plants. The red planet's thin atmosphere glowed through the massive dome as Mina knelt in the rusty soil. Around her stood scientists and colonial administrators, watching with a mixture of hope and skepticism. Most had never seen a Lumina work in person. The soil here is not dead, Mina explained, her hands hovering just above the reddish dust. It sleeps very deeply, but there are microorganisms present. Her skin began to glow with increasing brightness, the light forming precise, flowing patterns that seemed to sink into the ground beneath her hands. The scientists' instruments recorded a surge of energy that their equipment could detect but not fully analyze. For 10 minutes, Mina remained perfectly still, her light pulsing in rhythms that made some of the watching humans feel strangely emotional, though they couldn't explain why. When she finally stood, sweat beaded on her forehead, but she was smiling. "Try planting now," she said. "Start with the lichen specimens, then the modified algae." Colonial Administrator Da, a skeptic who had opposed bringing Illumina to Mars, stepped forward with a container of lichen. He carefully placed it on the treated soil, expecting nothing to happen. Within minutes, the lichen began to spread visibly, its tendrils reaching out across the soil with unnatural speed. The scientists rushed to their instruments, calling out readings in excited voices. Incredible nitrogen fixation rates. Microbial activity increased by 400%. Soil structure is actually changing at the molecular level. Administrator Dai stared at Mina in disbelief. One touch from Mina does what would take our equipment months, he marveled. Perhaps years. Back on Earth, Dr. Park shared video of Mina's success with Nara. The last surviving luminary had aged significantly over the 2 decades. Her once vibrant blue skin had faded to a pale azure, and the luminescence that had once flowed strongly now flickered like a candle in the wind. She watched from her wheelchair in the special habitat that had been her home for 20 years. "She has surpassed what I could do at my strongest," Nara said, her voice thin but filled with pride. "The human adaptability combined with our light has created something new." Hana sat beside her old friend, noticing how Nara's hands trembled slightly. According to their medical team, Nara had perhaps a year left. The genetic degradation that had doomed her species continued its work, despite all their efforts to slow it. "The Mars Project is just the beginning," Hana told her. "The United Nations Space Agency has requested Lumina assistance for 3 more colony projects. Your children will help humanity reach the stars." Around them, the habitat bustled with activity. Young Lumina trained with human scientists, learning to combine their innate abilities with scientific knowledge. In one corner, a teenage boy helped heal a stand of bamboo suffering from a fungal infection. In another, 3 young girls worked together to purify a tank of polluted water, their combined light creating patterns that broke down toxins at the molecular level. "My people believe that all life is connected," Nara told Dr. Park, her once bright luminescence now fading with age. "In saving what made us special, humans proved that connection exists even between stars." Dr. Park squeezed Nara's hand. "We'll ensure your light never fades from the universe." 6 months later, the first interstellar mission with Lumina crew members departed Earth orbit. Their destination was Proxima Centauri, the nearest potentially habitable exoplanet. Among the specialized crew were 6 Lumina, including Mina, who would help establish the first ecosystems on an alien world. Nara did not live to see their departure. She passed peacefully in her sleep 3 weeks before the launch, her body finally surrendering to the genetic flaws that had doomed her species. Her funeral was attended by every Lumina on Earth, their combined light creating a dome of luminescence visible for miles. In accordance with her wishes, Nara's genetic material was preserved, and her body was planted in the center of a special memorial garden. Within weeks, plants of extraordinary vigor grew from the soil where she rested, their flowers displaying unusual patterns that faintly glowed at night. Dr. Park continued her work with the Luminary Legacy Project into her 80s. She lived long enough to receive the first transmissions from Proxima Centauri, showing images of Lumina working to establish Earth plants in alien soil. The pictures showed Mina standing on a rocky plain beneath an orange sky, her luminescence connecting with strange microbial mats that covered the planet's surface. "They're responding to her light," the mission commander reported. "We've achieved in 2 days what we projected would take 5 years." On her deathbed, Hana was visited by dozens of Lumina who had come to say goodbye to the woman who had helped bring their community into existence. Mina, now returned from Proxima Centauri, and in her 40s, sat closest to her bed. "We've received approval for the next phase," Mina told her. 10 new colony worlds, with Lumina taking lead roles in ecosystem design. "We're adapting plants to work with alien soil biology faster than anyone thought possible." Hana smiled weakly. Nara would be so proud. "We still tell her stories to our children," Mina said, her skin glowing with warm, affectionate patterns. How she crossed the stars to find humans who would help save her people's gift. As Dr. Park's eyes closed for the final time, the Lumina in the room joined hands. Their combined light created patterns that seemed to lift and swirl around her bed, a farewell ceremony from a tradition that bridged 2 worlds. The Lumina continued to grow as a community, finding their place between their human and luminary heritages. They became essential to humanity's expansion among the stars, their inherited abilities helping transform barren worlds into habitable ones. Where humans once brought only technology to new planets, they now brought life itself through their partnership with the Lumina. On a dozen worlds circling distant stars, Gardens grew with plants that glowed faintly at night, living memorials to a species that had found a way to continue through change rather than fade into extinction. They were living proof that humanity's greatest strength was not conquest but preservation. And somewhere, on a small blue-green planet circling an average yellow star, in a garden where flowers glowed with their own inner light, the legacy of the luminary continued to illuminate the night. "Those are Earth species," Director June countered. "Part of our own ecosystem. This is entirely different." He stood and paced the room. "The Global Ethics Committee will need to review this thoroughly. I cannot make this decision alone." Within days, the committee was convened. 25 experts in biology, ethics, law, and religion gathered to debate what some were calling the most important decision in human history. Dr. Park presented the scientific findings, showing how a program to create viable hybrid children could work. They would be partly human, partly luminary, she explained. They would carry the essential traits of both species. The debate quickly turned heated. Some committee members saw it as humanity's duty to help preserve a dying species. Others warned against interfering in what might be a natural extinction event. "Who are we to play God?" asked Professor Lee, a religious scholar. "Perhaps the luminary's time has naturally come to an end." "That's a convenient philosophy when it's not your species facing extinction," Dr. Santos, a conservation biologist, fired back. "If an advanced alien civilization had found humans on the brink of extinction, wouldn't we want them to help us?" Security footage of the discussions leaked to the public. Soon, protests formed outside the institute. Some people carried signs welcoming Nara and supporting a hybrid program. Others demanded she leave Earth, fearing contamination or religious objections to alien hybridization. Inside her carefully controlled quarters, Nara watched the news with Hannah. "Your people are divided," she observed. "This is not surprising. It is a great thing to ask. Humans often fear what we don't understand," Hannah admitted. "But many support helping you." After 3 weeks of debate, the committee called Nara to speak. She entered the chamber alone, her slender form seeming fragile under the harsh lights. The room fell silent as she took her place at the podium. "I have listened to your debates," she began, her translator now perfectly conveying her words. "I understand your fears and your doubts. My people once faced similar questions when we discovered other species in need." The patterns of light beneath her skin formed complex, beautiful waves that held the committee transfixed. "I don't ask for my exact species to continue unchanged," she continued with quiet dignity. "The luminary, as we were, may indeed be reaching our natural end. I ask only that what made us special, our harmony with living systems, not be lost from the universe forever." She held up her hand, and the bioluminescence concentrated there, creating a small glowing sphere. This light helped heal ecosystems on 12 worlds. It nurtured plants that could not grow alone. It balanced atmospheres and purified waters. Is this worth preserving, not just as scientific knowledge, but as living wisdom? The room remained silent when she finished speaking. Even her strongest opponents seemed moved by her words. That evening, Hannah found Nara in the Institute's garden, her skin glowing softly in the darkness. Plants seemed to lean toward her, responding to her light. "You spoke beautifully today," Hannah said, sitting beside her. "Did I help our cause?" Nara asked. "I think so, but the committee still seems divided." Nara nodded slowly. "On my world, we believe that understanding comes through connection." She hesitated, then held out her hand. "May I show you something?" Curious, Hannah placed her hand in Nara's. Immediately, a warm sensation spread up her arm. The bioluminescence from Nara's skin seemed to flow between them, creating patterns where their hands met. Suddenly, Hannah felt it, a profound sense of connection, not just to Nara, but to the plants around them, the soil beneath them, the air they breathed. For a brief moment, she experienced the world as a luminary did, as an interconnected web of life where each part affected all others. When Nara withdrew her hand, Tears were streaming down Hannah's face. "That's how you see everything," she whispered. "Yes, that is what will be lost if we fail." The next morning, Hannah requested to address the committee again. She described what she had experienced, speaking with a passion that surprised even herself. "This isn't just about saving an alien species," she concluded. "It's about preserving a unique way of understanding life itself. Something humans might learn from. Something that might help us heal our own world." The committee's final vote was scheduled for the following day. That night, neither Hannah nor Nera slept as they waited for a decision that would determine the fate of the luminary's legacy. The committee's decision was delayed. They needed more information about luminary culture and abilities before making their final choice. This delay gave Dr. Park and Nera valuable time together.